Okay, I've got 6:31, so we will call to order the meeting of the Coppell Parks and Recreation Board, Monday, June 7th. Welcome to everybody. Good to see those of you here in person. It's great to be back to this mode of operation. Those of you on the Zoom call, thank you for joining. We appreciate that as well. For those that are here, you just got mentioned, but just as a reminder, when you're speaking, there's a button next to your microphone that'll turn your light from red to green. Otherwise, it won't record, won't be able to hear. So when you're speaking, push that onto the green button. When you're not speaking, if you could mute it back to the red, that would be great. All righty. Moving on then. We've got Citizens Forum is item number 2. I don't think we had anybody in advance, and Cecilia, nobody has signed up at this point. So with that, we will move on to item number 3, approval of minutes from our May 3rd meeting of 2021. As always, you should have all received that in advance, hopefully had a chance to look through it. If not, take a minute to look through it now. After that appropriate time, we will entertain a motion for comments or to approve.
I move to approve.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor, in person, raise your hand. Online, if you can do your emoji button with a thumbs up or raise your hand. All right, Cecilia, I'm assuming you can see online. I can't see the online, so I'm assuming it was unanimous approval. It is. Yes. All right. With that, minutes from May 3rd are approved, and we will move on to item number 4, which is the annual report by the Coppell Lacrosse Association. You can step up to the microphone there.
Do I need to press anything?
Need to press anything?
Okay,
just give your name. And
Brooks Carter, Coppell Lacrosse Association, president of Coppell Lacrosse, boys and girls. Wonderful to see all of you guys again, ladies, gentlemen. So I think last time I was here, it was right before COVID. So for us, we shut down, just like the rest of the world, and it's been kind of a whirlwind. We really started this year coming back thinking, how can we get, boys and girls back out, excited? Can we keep those same numbers? We're volunteer run, parents paid for, non-UIL. So coming back this year, it's really been a whirlwind. The girls came back very strong. The boys came back very strong. And it was 10 years to Mother's Day this year, 10 years ago, that the boys last won a state championship. So we went on kind of a unique, amazing run. Earl, I know there was some blood tied to you, as your grandson was a big part of it. Fortunately, we made the playoffs, and we weren't really sure what this adventure would look like. We were able to get a bus. Parents went down to Houston. We were hoping, hey, let's just give the boys a wonderful kind of send-off for this 21 class, kind of put a new vibe, kind of a wonderful feeling into coming back out of COVID. Went down there. We won Saturday, so it put us in the finals. Next thing you know, the boys were down on Sunday, came back, won by a goal, won the state championship. 10 years to the day of the last one. So it's really an amazing year for the parents and everybody involved, and for all of CLA, boys and girls. It means so much to be able to promote it and to be out in the community. And I have to say, this year would not have gone as smoothly without your guys' support, and obviously the Parks Board and everything that we have here in Coppell is, it's the red and black that we bleed out on the field. So it was a wonderful year. We're going to grow. We're going to build on it and keep going with y'all's support. And so that's really about it. There's not been any downsides, but the school's been wonderful this year. They recognize the boys senior night and before graduation. We've done some wonderful parties for them. We're gotten some patches for the boys that have lettered in other sports, and it really. Our coach on the boys' side, a young man named Matt Muller, has been with us for 15 years and does everything from the kindergarten level all the way up through high school. And it meant so much to him because he had seen a lot of these boys from first grade till now. And We've already seen a huge outreach of people wanting to get involved. Players at different levels that may have been playing other sports that may not think they have an opportunity. And we always believe, hey, if you're a part of Coppell, we always have a home for you. And that's what, for all of us, Coppell Lacrosse is about. So does anybody have a question? Or
Yeah, I got a couple of questions and comments. But first of all, lacrosse is one of those great youth sports stories, I think, in Coppell. One of the ones that came on relatively recent compared to some of the other sports that had been around a while, and was taken off for sure. And I know COVID kind of put a bump in it, but I was seeing increased participation and getting better and better as we talked. But one thing I wanted to ask, if you could,
sure,
for the board members that are new this year,
yep,
can you describe a little bit more of the relationship between the youth sports and the high school and lacrosse, because it's a little bit different from some of the other sports we have in here?
Absolutely. So we look and feel just like a UIL sport. We look, when we're out on the field, we look like a team from any Coppell school, high school. We wear the same colors. We're fortunate enough to carry the star on our helmets, so everything's associated with Coppell. For the majority, we may have 99% of our players all come from Coppell. So we're that one school. We're a large school, 6A school. It's unique because the governing body of all lacrosse, they kind of look at it and they say, okay, if you're a Frisco, for say, you can pull from all your schools, but you can have one team. So it's tough for us because we are a small community and we don't have all those other places to pull from. We also lose some children to you fight the private schools because the child can live here in Coppell, but all of a sudden show up at Hockaday or Jesuit, and so there's a unique balance that we have to kind of follow. But so we've got the two verticals, the boys and the girls. It starts from kindergarten and goes all the way through 12th grade. I think this year we'll probably have 3 boys that will have some scholarship and play at the different levels. We've had girls in the past go to Stanford. There's a young lady right now that's playing for Syracuse, and it feels and looks like everything that any school would offer from a UIL side, but we are built on the back of wonderful parents and just volunteers. So the same passion that anybody would want to get involved in with a board and what you do, you've got to have a love for it. And we would be nowhere without those parents and volunteers. And obviously the usage of fields and the way, how do we grow it and what do we look at. But for anybody that didn't know any different, you would think that the coach is a part of the school district. And that's the biggest difference, is they're not. The parents and all that registration fees, we pay for them. So does that kind of help understand everything that goes on?
Yeah, I think so. Kevin, you got a question?
Yeah. So it's interesting. This past year, UIL, what they did approve for the state of Texas was water polo, which not really sure why or how. Or on the East Coast, you will see it's not UIL based, kind of in the New Yorks, the Philadelphias. They're more of a club organization, and they do play for that part of that school, and they're part of that, sometimes that curriculum. It would be really, really difficult, I think, here in the state of Texas. It's grown very, very large. Some schools don't have boys and girls. Some schools around the state only offer girls, or some only offer boys to play. You would have to balance that out, and it would have to be across the board. And I think it would, how to say this politically, football drives the state of Texas. And at times, that football coach probably doesn't want those guys playing lacrosse, where I think it only helps. I think it's a wonderful spring sport, and it gives a lot of different players opportunities at different sports. But I think those coaches around the state would say, hey, you need to focus on football. And also, I don't want to give up a coach that does football that then all of a sudden has to go coach a spring lacrosse game that he may have not had any training for. So I think that's where it would be very difficult. And a lot of people are saying, hey, we got to push for that. People that have been really involved in lacrosse, we've got a governing body that oversees all of Texas. And our success is boys and girls are, a lot of those players from either side are going on to wonderful schools and seeing other opportunities and getting scholarships that they may have never had if they were just stuck playing volleyball, basketball, any other sport where they may not have the opportunity or the love for the game. And I think that's where we found our niche. The majority, if you talk to coaches that are here in Texas, Louisiana's grown, Oklahoma, it's been really, it's amazing over the last 5 years, the growth of it. So, and there's a lot of people in this town that literally 10 years ago, there was a group of parents that had some very talented ladies that were playing, and on the same time, 2 years behind that, there was a group of guys, boys playing, and their dads kind of drove it, and they had success, and they both kind of won those state championships. And you turn around, you start to do those youth camps, and everybody starts to see it and talk about it. And we had seen kind of that plateau, that 8 to 10 year, and we're still having success. But a lot of kids would come out and see us play the Jesuits of the world on the boys' side, or the Hockadays of the world on the girls' side. And a lot of them would be discouraged because they'd be like, I can't jump in. That's a fast-moving train. How am I going to get on it right now? And we have two wonderful coaches on both sides that it's not about the win. It's about what we can build here in Coppell, and it starts at that youth level and all the way up. And this year, it was my son's at 21, graduating this year. And, it was amazing. And yeah, it was. So I've been doing this for 15 years in this town, so it was exciting. Yes, Marie.
So, Brooks, thank you.
Yeah.
That was a really good explanation. I have kind of a follow-up to what Kevin was asking on the whole. So my understanding then is that lacrosse is not recognized as a UIL sport or a TAPS sport.
Correct.
Throughout Texas, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So our teams are playing public schools and private schools.
Correct.
Also. So, okay, so I get that part. So the next question is, since you said the involvement with CISD here, what support does CISD offer to lacrosse?
Really, they allow us to use their fields. We all share those. We've had great support from the principal, at the admin side of everything at the high school. Even Brad's son, superintendent, played for a while, and we've had wonderful. The coaches, it's very arm's length. They love, they want to have the boys to have success, but in their heart of hearts, I get it. Their job is to improve that football team, improve that baseball team, improve that basketball team or soccer team. And I think a lot of players, be it the boys or girls side, will start to see this, and we really approach it by saying, hey, your UIL sport is your first sport. Our coaches are like, you don't have to come to our practices. You can make as many as you want. We'll give you an opportunity to play if it fits in, but we never want it to be a conflict with what's going on at your schools. Sadly, you would think that would get a really good response from coaches, but a parent may turn and go, hey, Coach A, lacrosse coach, isn't upset with my son because he's enjoying playing and growing and everything else. I think there's just little things in there that they may want to see where there's more structure, where they would rather say, hey, if you're playing sport A for the school, you can't play lacrosse. So, but it's not it's a wonderful relationship. I just know just going through sports and understanding the makeup of it, they've got a job to do. And we really want to be a part of helping them better develop any of those players however it works out. So the one thing that is very difficult for us on the state side, what made it so amazing is the boys ended up beating St. Mark's on Saturday. It's a private school. To understand the biggest difference, those private schools, they have 2 hours every day plus an hour after of pure lacrosse. And so we really are a bunch of ragamuffins that showed up that just get to practice in the evening times, and so it was fun. And we hope, we continue to grow and work with the city, and, we'd love to. I will say I've got a lot of parents that would love to paint something on Old Town to update that state championship. So that would be the only request some of you guys may see coming across your desk. But they give us a trophy case and everything. We put our trophy in at the high school. So we signed a helmet. We did a lot of the pictures will be in there. So.
Nick, go ahead.
Here. All right. So I think I may have an answer based on all of your explanation so far, but for me anyway, and I think we've even discussed it on the board, lacrosse is used as an example, right, for other sort of startup, organizations or sports, or, hey, somebody wants to get this started in Coppell, and inevitably it's like, oh, well, you could do it like lacrosse, right? And so, yeah. and that sounds so simple, right? It's easy. Yeah. But, I've got early champions, passionate parents, youth camps, easy to get started, right, and make beginners feel welcome, strong volunteers. Am I missing anything else in sort of the secret sauce? Like, what's the, how come lacrosse has done this versus some of the others aren't doing that?
It really is. It's just about finding that culture. It's about those parents. You've got to be able to, it can't just be that one group that says, I'm going to make little Susie, little Johnny, whoever it is, and I'm going to make sure that my child has the best experience they ever have, and you're only focused on your child. It has to be about every child. And I think when you start to get those groups of people to understand, hey, we're starting lacrosse or we're starting whatever it is, it's not about today. It's always about tomorrow. And if you can keep doing that, then it may take every 8 years. If that's what you want to measure anything on, that was total icing on the cake. The cake, we were so happy just to be able to load the guys up on a bus. Both sides came out, cheered them on. It was just really, really cool. So. But no secret sauce. A lot of hard work.
Yeah, that's great. No, I appreciate it.
Totally.
I think we get asked about it sometimes, and it's like, well, how'd they do it? And we've got our answer, right? So it's good stuff. Congrats.
So, Brooks, I'm wondering, just to give me a feel, how many kids are involved right now?
So we had a little drop, and I think it was, after COVID, you try to open up and you get a feel for people, and you really had about 80% of the people saying, we want to be back outside. We want to follow whatever guidelines there are. So we kind of started doing that, and I think we were somewhere in the 500 range down to maybe, 425 after, but that a lot of that was really from understanding where COVID was and how comfortable people were, and we try you try to say, hey, if things are going okay and you feel comfortable, you can start up at any time, and we can prorate what that fee is. So you just try to do, once again, as much as a volunteer to make anybody feel comfortable that wants to take a shot at it. And did we absolutely have some times where somebody had a COVID test that came back positive, and we had everything in place that we felt was with the state guideline to be able to say, okay, well, there's a reason why we kept everybody in a small group. Everybody's kind of helmets, mouth guards, everything's in a distance, and you're always outside. So we never had any major outbreak, and we were very fortunate to be able to have that. So
nice.
I have a comment. If you want to see participation in action, if you see a lacrosse game on the schedule somewhere, go out and see it. You'll see parents in there taking, selling programs, working in the snack bar, putting the goals up, taking the goals up, chasing balls and throwing them back on the thing. And so you get a lot of participation, and it's all excited participation in that. And that contributes a lot to the success of the lacrosse program.
No, I appreciate that, Earl. And I know you've been fortunate, and you've seen our sweat and our tears and our, happiness. But yeah, it really is. It's just you try to live and you work within the shadows. You never want to cause problems for any of the other coaches or campuses or any scheduling. But you always let everybody believe that you're shining in the light. So. And I will tell you, the one thing the school's been absolutely wonderful this year, we used to have our trainers were Baylor, and one of the coaches last year said, hey, before you get going, our trainers work for Baylor, and then y'all pay Baylor. So he connected all of us. So now we're paying the school ISD trainers directly. They make a little more money, and we save a little money. So it's been a wonderful relationship. So, yes.
Thank you for sharing. I learned something new today. How does this connect? I know you've been talking about the relationship with the high school or the school district. Does it equate to like a sports credit for them? Like they can pick lacrosse just like they pick another sport?
That's a great question. Over the last 3 years, I've worked tirelessly to be able to allow a lot of, coming out of 8th grade especially, people don't want to do football, people don't want to do whatever it is, and they need that PE credit. We are recognized through the school now and through the state. So it's a long list that player has to follow, and the coach signs off on it. He or she would act like a teacher basically. And then that player follows what that schedule looks like. But yes, they can absolutely they can get their PE credit now as of this year. So, and we thought there'd be a lot of people that would do it. You don't see, it's always that one off, and then they're like, oh wow, that's a lot of hours. Maybe I'll just go take PE or something. So
do they count it as a off-campus, like a OCPE, or is it just part of
you get your PE credit?
Okay.
So, absolutely.
But they are doing it after hours at your schedule?
They can't, or during that day, there may be, so there's a few things that we've set up, like offsite training, be it if the player wants to go to a gym, or if they're working with somebody that may be a trainer that's outside of lacrosse. If that can be signed off on, then those can be a part of the hours. And then typically they would meet with one of the coaches and work on skills, understanding the game, everything that it kind of takes to meet those requirements. So,
I guess just to follow up to my prior question, are the other schools UIL high schools having UIL teams, or just none of the state teams?
No state teams.
St. Mark's is not UIL or anybody?
No, nobody's recognized by the UIL through lacrosse. The governing body it's like THS, Texas High School Sports LL. And then there's another L for the ladies side, and there's a north representative, a south representative, central, and you feel like you're being judged by the UIL, but it's just another governing board.
I think what you guys have done is great. My concern would be, obviously, the success has been based upon a lot of parents and people that are very involved. But if that were to fall apart, like your son graduated and yours maybe move on and other parents move on or coaches transition, will it sustain itself? And that's why I think if it's a UIL, if it's a high school sport, then obviously it's ingrained in the school and it just has that other legitimacy to it. Not that you guys don't.
Sure.
I think it's great.
No, totally.
I'd be concerned the longevity to make sure it sustains.
100%. And I think we are every year. U.S. Lacrosse is the national governing body. And regardless of what you do, if we were to scholarship a player in Coppell, if a parent came to us and said, hey, this is all we can really afford, and we scholarship a ton of players because we just want children to have a chance to play. The one thing we can't do is U.S. Lacrosse requires every player at every age level to pay. It's $30 a year. You become a member of U.S. Lacrosse. You've got insurance, but it's a really unique kind of platform that they follow. And their whole motto is grow the game, and they have a lot of really good resources to help you set up each year. Hey, here's kind of a blueprint. If you've been having success, you can work within your success, but we'll be there every year to make sure, hey, what can we do? Can we come out and run a free U.S. Lacrosse clinic to get more players in your community understanding the game, and we'll supply the coaches. But every year it is. We hand it off to multiple volunteers a year, and you try to balance. You find somebody with that passion, and somebody else gets on the board as any role that would be on the board, and then you're like, oh man, your son's in 7th grade or your daughter's in 6th grade. There's somebody that will probably take my role, but they understand that even dealing at the high school level, there's different kind of parent attitude than you'll have at the youth level. But if you've got that passion and that person that would be with it for a while, that's where you kind of find that balance. So.
Cecilia, is there a way for the people that are online, Zoom, to ask questions if they wanted to? If anybody online had a question, let Cecilia know here.
Yeah, so they're on the chat. Maheshka says, excellent job in this unprecedented time.
Well, thank you.
All right. Anybody else with questions or comments here? All right. Well, thanks, Brooks. Appreciate everything you're doing to grow that.
Guys.
And it is a great success story for a new sport in Coppell. So we'd love to see it.
It was fun times. Thank you, guys, for everything y'all do, too. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Moving on to item number 5, presentation and discussion related to the Duck Pond Park renovations. John, I'm assuming this is you.
It is.
It is. All
Good
right.
evening. It's
Welcome.
good to be live and in person with you all.
Yeah.
I'm here tonight to talk about the Duck Pond Park. And I'll start out by giving a little bit of history of this project. We started talking about it with this board in 2016. It was on the park board priority list. Back then, we actually put them in numerical order. 2017, it was on the list again. It was number 9 on the list. 2018, we changed it to high, medium, and low priorities instead of numerical order. It was number 2 on the high list, right behind Magnolia Park. It ran through our 5-year plan, our CRDC 5-year plan, and actually got funded to start in 2020. That obviously did not happen. We froze everything. And at this point right now, we have not started this project. I'm here tonight just to update you kind of on what's going on in the park, what we would like to accomplish. We've got some funding decisions that we're going to have to work through, and we also have more work out there than we're going to be able to afford to do. So what I want to do tonight is kind of run through. I've got some photos of what's going on in the park. We have met with a consulting engineer. We haven't contracted with them yet, but we have met with them on site. We walked the site, and we came up with some preliminary pricing. It's obviously very high-level pricing. We've walked the park with him one time, and so it's kind of fluffed up a little bit. So what I'd like to do is run through kind of what we see that needs to be done, and then open it up for questions to you all. This is not an action item. It's just an update on where we're at. We're actually ready to get started on it again. So this is a page directly out of our Parks and Rec Master Plan. Just kind of some information on the park. It's located at 400 East Bethel School Road. It's basically between Bethel and Woodhurst. On the east-west sides, probably Hertz and Moore Road. It's kind of in the middle if y'all don't know where the Duck Pond Park is. This actually was the first city park built in Coppell. It was built in the 1970s. I don't have the exact date. It's been there a long time. There hasn't been a whole lot done to this park. It's classified as a neighborhood park. It's a 5-acre park. It does have a few amenities out there. There's a walking sidewalk. It's not really a trail. There's a walkway out there. It's got several picnic stations. It's got a lot of open space, so it is one of the better parks just for pickup games and football, that kind of stuff. And it does have a playground there, and then obviously we have a pond there. This is zoomed in a little bit closer. This is current. This is a 2020 photo of the park. I'll briefly kind of point out the next few slides are going to be, we basically have 4 priorities that we would like to see accomplished in this park. And I'll have a slide for each one, but briefly, this is on the south side of the park. This is what we'll refer to as the dam or the south pond edge. It's got some pretty serious erosion issues going on. They're creating some hazards out there, and you'll see it in the photos. We've got to address that. It's clearly our number one priority. The pond edges have erosion going on too. This pond was dredged in the mid-1990s, and when they were putting the sod and finishing that, back then, erosion control has come a long ways. They put kind of, and I don't know if you all have been out there to the park, but they used like netting underneath to try to hold the grade in. Might have worked for a while. It's not going to work for 25 or 30 years. And so what's happened is the edges have all eroded out. Now all that netting it's all the way around the perimeter of this lake. It doesn't really create hazards to people or children, but it does to the wildlife out there, the turtles and birds and stuff like that. Plus, it's very unsightly. And again, if you've been out to the park, you know what I'm talking about. It's a mess. The third thing that I want to talk to you about is up here on the north end. You can't see it, but the playground's right in there under all those trees. But there's also canals up there. That you can kind of see the kind of the mouth of that one right there. Those canals act like, for lack of a better term, kind of like a cove at a lake. Everything blows up in those canals, trash, muck, yuck, everything gets in there. It's very nasty. They're right next to our playground, and so about 10 years ago we went out there and put up some safety barriers so that the kids wouldn't end up in that mess. But they're very close to the park, and we would like to address those. And then the fourth thing that I'll talk to you about is looping this trail around. I don't even want to call it a trail because it's going to be a 6-foot sidewalk if we do it. We've had a few requests. It'd be great to be able to go out there. If you're local, in that neighborhood, you could go out there. It's about a 1/4-mile loop if we could get it. That's one of the priorities. So anyhow, the park does have a small parking lot on the south end. And again, you can't see the playground up at the top. The beauty of this park is the natural shade over this playground. It's in the shade all the time. And so it's very popular for families in the community that have little kids. There's lots of ducks to feed, and there's a great playground there. And so even though it's a neighborhood park, it's kind of a hidden gem. But most of the community that has little kids, a lot of the community grew up there. And so there's some passion with this park. Again, it's our oldest park. It was our first park. So this is priority number one. This is the erosion. This is what I'm referring to as the dam, and you can see the erosion on this side. It's a pretty steep drop off. We can't maintain it. It's very rough. If you get too close to that edge, you could fall off there and end up in the pond. There's different ways we can shore up that. We could do gabion baskets. We could just do plain concrete wall. I mean, there's a number of ways. What I've got pictured on the right-hand side of this is an option. It is expensive, but all of these are going to be expensive. And this picture is not in Coppell. This is in Plano. But it makes a pretty easy visual if you just slide that kind of a border straight over there, if you can envision it on that side of the park. It would be very nice. It's very expensive. You can see down here, it's almost $200,000 to do that, $195,000. Gabions or anything over there, I don't think we're going to repair this in for under 150, probably closer to 175. And so, yes, it's expensive to do something really, really nice like this. And we may not be able to afford this, I'll be honest with y'all. But it's very nice. We priced it out. And so what we would like to do on this side is come in and fix that bank, install this rock work along that edge, and then there's some minor work that we would do around this outfall. There's nothing wrong with it. We've got some minor stuff to do over there. A couple thousand here, a couple thousand there. The big chunk of this obviously is going to be the stabilizing the bank so that we can make it better. The pricing on this came out to a total of $274,600. Obviously, I just walked it one time with the engineer, so he stuck a contingency on there, kind of everything else that would fall in. He's got a $20,000 contingency, which is $55,000, total of $330,000 just to do that dam. One thing I'll say, when we're doing renovations, it's hard. There's so much we would like to do. Even back when we did the core, you got to draw the line somewhere, and we're not going to be able to do it all, as you'll see when I get to the end of these slides. But anyhow, this is our top priority. Again, I'm not saying we absolutely have to go with this rock. This is just a great idea. We liked it. It looks really good. Pricing is probably pretty relevant. We're probably looking at $150,000 to $200,000 to do this dam at minimum.
Hey, John, just real quick, if it turns out the ledgestone is too expensive for the budget that we've got, what might be an alternative? Would it just be whitestone riprap kind of stuff?
No, I don't know that riprap. It'd probably be gabions. Okay. Again, gabions aren't cheap either. This has got to be able to hold up. Well, I shouldn't say we won't do riprap. Riprap is just so unsightly, and it's very hard to maintain. It gets trees and stuff growing in it. Yeah. I'd hate to see riprap here, but it might be an option just based on funding.
So when you say gabions, are you talking about like we have around the Andy Brown lakes and stuff? Or is
No, it'd be rock baskets.
Okay.
Gotcha. They would come out and put a basket in and put rocks. It would step up very similar to this, just like the rocks step up. But it would be baskets, kind of chain link baskets with rock inside them.
Okay, yeah, I've seen those.
Hunterwood, we did a lot of it at Hunterwood.
Yeah, you're right, at Hunterwood.
Yes. And again, I'm going to guess gabions are probably going to be $175,000 in here. So that's why we went with this. This looks the best. It would dress the park up the best, but there's a premium for the best. So.
I mean, price not much different between those two options, Correct. And this looks a whole lot better, I think, than the wire-wrapped rock stuff. But so is there any feel at this point from council whether this kind of thing could fly, or has this not been discussed there yet?
At this point, it's funded through CRDC. I haven't contracted with an engineer to design it. Council may or may not even know that we're working on it right now. I mean, it was funded to move forward with. I haven't presented anything to council. I wanted to come to you all first. We're at the very first step of this. Literally, I haven't contracted with an engineer yet. We met him on site. I wanted to get it out in front of you, kind of get it out into the community a little bit. I'd like for you all to go out to the park and have a look, and because we're going to have some decisions to make on this project. So to answer your question, no, I doubt council is aware that I'm even down here talking to you about it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just real quick, on the rock baskets versus ledgestone, is there any lifespan difference? I mean, is the more expensive ledgestone can be
Not really. They're
same thing.
Gabion baskets work great. They're just not as aesthetically pleasing as something like this, but as far as holding the bank, they're awesome. It's just they don't look as good. Yeah, so yeah, this would be an upgrade based on aesthetics. There's no doubt about it.
Cecilia
Maheshka
has
is
a question.
asking, would this go the entire perimeter of the pond or just at the dam area?
This would just be on the south end along the dam. Yeah, we absolutely. The rest of the lake, and I'll go to that next. But to answer her question, yes, we're just talking about the area you can see in this picture here. Basically right in through here, and we'd stop it right down there. That's why I use this picture, because it slides over pretty good. If you just slide that across, and if you could visualize, we'd have to figure something out around this, we can't stack on top of it and stuff like that, so we'd have to figure out how to address that, but the visual was if you take this curve and slide it over, and if you can envision it on that bank. So no, we would not do the whole perimeter of the pond. The next priority number 2, this would be to address the erosion around the north, east, and west sides of basically the rest of the pond. The pond is eroding. It's not near as bad as the dam just because the dam's so much higher, and so when it falls off, it breaks off in chunks. And we've had a lot of discussions about erosion and ponds and stuff with the Magnolia Park. It's kind of the same thing. When it starts going, and it happens in times like this where we get really saturated and water levels go up and then they drop back down real quick, and just the weight of it comes off in chunks. And so the dam is in bad shape. The pond edge, and it's hard to get a visual of the erosion around it. It's eroding all the way around the perimeter of the pond. And again, the biggest issue is the netting and the erosion control that was put in place in the 90s. Now it's all completely exposed and out there. We've got several things on this pricing. One of them is this is a pipe. This whole pond is only fed by stormwater. It's when it rains, water gets added to this. When it doesn't rain, this pond struggles. We have 2 aerators in that pond for that very reason. We work with Bill Wingo and the Magnolia Fisheries over here. We have to treat it sometimes. It's challenging to keep the water quality up there. This was done probably 20 years ago by our Public Works Department. We were having some flooding issues up here in this cul-de-sac, so they just piped it straight in. It really wasn't done to our standard. It doesn't even have a head wall on it. That's just a big old black pipe sticking out into the side of the pond, kind of industrial looking for a neighborhood park. But it does have you can see the erosion spot there, and it goes all the way around. So we wouldn't be doing any walls. We're going to go in and grade it, and basically recut the edge and lower it down. We'll have to drain the pond down some. We'll have to pull out some of the benches and stuff like that, and we'll just grade it back to a slope. And then we would put a better quality erosion. There's all kinds of erosion mats and things that you can put in place now to hold the bank in place. So we would be putting some erosion control in there. It just wouldn't be a seawall like we've done at East, or the rocks like you saw on that other photo. But we're not just going to go out there and scrape it off and resod it and hope that it holds up. We would be putting some erosion control under it. One of the other things that we need to address, and you can see it in this photo, and I have a couple other photos I'll show you later on that show it even better. But this is the canal that I was talking about. We want to eliminate the water from the canal. So we would go back. Let me back up a slide and see if I can find a better picture of it. We would basically stop the water right there. We don't want the water to go up into the canals. So what we would do, and they stair step now, and that's why I took this photo. It's high and dry up here. It actually drops down, several feet there and then goes out into the water. So the pond water comes all the way up into this point. These were the barricades that we had to put up just to keep kids from ending up in that. It's it's not a big drop off, but obviously you're going to end up into the water. So what we would like to do is raise the bottom of the canal up to this level. So the canal will still be there. It would be more of a dry canal unless it's raining. Obviously, it's stormwater fed, and so the water would run down into the pond. It's just that we wouldn't have the water going back up into the canal during normal weather, and that's where we get all our problems, is especially as we get into July and August. They do get a lot of trash, and it gets pretty nasty, and they're right on top of the playground. That's why we put these safety precautions in. So again, this is our second priority. These priorities are not based on pricing. They're based really on need that we have to address in the park. And again, I don't consider any of this stuff. This is all maintenance stuff. This is not upgrades to the park for, amenities and stuff like that. This is maintenance on the park. So, we would take this all the way out to the end. And so we would have, and there's two of these out there. So again, kind of the same deal. They've got a lot of stuff in here that I don't know that we end up doing all this. They've got mobilization, site prep. What they're talking about softening the edge, that's where we would go back and grade it. We're going to have to resod it. We'll put some erosion control underneath it. And we would work on the raising the channels and the drop structures that are in place. And then we've got some sod and irrigation that we go back in. Again, we're at $241,000. If you put a contingency on top of that, we're at $290,000 there. That's our recommended priority number 2. Priority number 3 is we would like to do some work around this playground. The actual playground structure is fine. We replaced this playground, and I don't know the exact year. It's probably been 8 or 10 years ago, but the playground structure is in good shape. It's everything else that needs work around it. This is the pour-in-place rubber that we started using a few years ago on a lot of our playgrounds. This was the first one we used it on, and it's in really bad condition. The biggest problem that we have is there's drainage underneath this. If you can envision, that pour-in-place rubber sits on top of gravel, and then underneath the gravel there's drains so that this doesn't hold water. It's not working. This playground holds water when we get rain. The pour-in-place rubber is shot, and so we're just proposing to rip that out and go back in with Fibar like what we've used in the past, what's at Kid Country, and we've actually gone back to that on most of our playgrounds. And then it's got a few other issues. If you can see this wall here, and again, this bench, that first step's kind of a doozy. It kind of is a pretty good drop off. And so we would like to address some ADA things with this walkway that goes down to the park, and then, basically the footprint and the drainage underneath it. And so, again, it's a high priority. It's the third priority on this list. We're not talking as much on this one. Again, I don't know that all this mobilization and site prep, that's kind of standard when you get it pricing from an engineer, especially the first go around when we haven't designed anything. I don't know that that much will be there. The rest of it is pretty legit, as far as removal of and excavation of the existing surface. We bringing back in the Fibar, which is the wood mulch. We would have to do the drain underneath, this whole area. We would have to do drains, and then we would want to basically replace this whole footprint that goes around it. And then we've also got landscape and irrigation around it. This total came to $89,975, and he threw another 20% on top of that, so we're at about $105,000 for around the playground. And then this is the last one, and this one I would call a low priority, because this is what I would qualify as nice to have. Those other things are kind of stuff we really need to do to make the park safe and make it last and make it sustainable. We would like to do a trail. Again, I hate calling it a trail because it's going to be just a 6-foot walkway. And you can see from this picture, we're going by houses, and so you know what that will bring. I don't know that it will be as bad out here because this is not a trail. This would just be the same people are going to walk over there whether the sidewalk is there or not. So we went ahead and priced it out. We're looking at about $100,000. If you put a contingency on it, it's $130,000. I have this one as the lowest of the 4 priorities, just based on that. It would be nice, but it's not necessary. These other things are really necessary that we address them. So this is a quick summary of the pricing. Again, priority number 1 with the contingency in it is $330,000. To do the pond edges and raising of the canal bottoms is $290,000. The playground area is about $105,000, and then that trail would be about $130,000. Totals $855,000. Again, that's got a 20% contingency in it, which is about $145,000, $150,000 on it. At this point, we're probably going to move forward with not doing priority number 4 unless you all tell me otherwise. If there's some real push from the community and stuff, we can certainly add it, or at least add it to the design. We can always bid it. These numbers do not include engineering fees either. So engineering fees on this, depending on how far we go with it, they're typically about 12%. So we're between $80,000 and $100,000 on engineering fees on this as well. So anyhow, I just wanted to bring it forward. I would probably propose that we do design at least the first 3 priorities, and when we put the bids together, we can, add that we can do them as alternate bids, and so we can add them or not award them based on that bid. We put it all out there for a bid, and obviously priority number 1 is going to be to fix the dam. If we have enough money, we would go on to priority number 2. If we have enough money, we would go on to priority number 3. If not, we've got them designed, and when we do get the money, we can go back and do it. But that's one of those things. Erosion doesn't wait. It keeps getting worse. That's kind of what happened here. We started talking about this park in 2016. Now we're talking about starting the design in 2021. I can assure you the dam did not look like that in 2016. And so it gets worse. And so those are the decisions that we have to make. Do we want to go try to find the money and try to get it all now? Or do we want to wait and see when we have some decisions on the money? And with that, let me show you one more picture real quick of those canals, just because I had a better shot at. Well, this is another angle of the dam. The sun was out better that day, and so this one you can really see what the drop off. That's probably almost a 4-foot drop off there. It's just looking at it. This one is looking. The one where you can see the concrete culvert is looking back to the west. This one is looking to the east, but it's the same area. This is the canals, and this is in May. It's not even hot yet. It's not even nasty, and that's what happens in those canals, and so this one you get a good visual. It's right next to the playground. That's why we put these up, because we had several.
I need a piece of Dodo.
What is that?
That's the one.
So you can see this gives you a good visual. We would extend that all the way out, and it actually ties into this canal. We would extend that all the way out. So you would have kind of that look. It would still look good. It just wouldn't give us the nastiness. And with that, I will open it up for questions.
Yeah, let me just ask a couple things real quick here. But you're right. We've been talking about this one for a number of years, and it's only gotten worse. So in general, when I look at it, I tend to agree with your priority listing, and I agree that the last one, not so important to me right now. it looks like a neighborhood park, but it really grabs people from around the whole community sometimes to go there for picnics and other things. So I do like that we're doing this to make it look good, but I do see people walking around it all the time, even over on the grass side without a trail. So I'm not sure that's as important. But the real question I've got, you mentioned CRDC, so it was originally approved by CRDC and then put on hold. So
Correct.
it would have to be reapproved
It was
by
funded.
CRDC and council if it
will.
were to go forward.
Yeah. This engineering fee is going to have to be approved by council. It's going to be over $50,000.
Okay.
CRDC funded $450,000.
Okay.
So
all right. And
we
that was
got to
gonna
go
be-
back and talk to them as well.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
What did they approve? I mean, if you take the 855 and take the 130 out for the trails, you know, you're down
I'm
to
thinking that we
750
could
roughly,
probably
but-
be closer to 700. I think some of the numbers are fluffed up pretty high. You know, that we're not going to have all that mobilization and all that. We'll have some of it, but they stuck it in every phase because they didn't know if we were going to pick and choose which ones we would do. If we did the first three phases, we would have one mobilization cost, and a lot of that stuff would not be as bad. But I think we'd be hard pressed to do the first three priorities for under 7.
And I guess my question along with that is, do you recall when we have our priority list together? I mean, those are rough estimates before there's any engineering or anything like that, but do you recall how much we had for this project on there? And
So we started out at 250.
okay.
And we adjusted it to 450 as long in there about 18 or 19 when we actually got the funding. So we've adjusted it once, but it's still, we're probably going to have to adjust it again.
Okay. And I guess my follow-on question to that is, if we had it at 450 last, and that's what CRDC approved, and say it goes up to 700 or even 750, does that bump mean that other projects on our priority list would have to be delayed or moved back or something? How does it affect other projects if we do that?
I would assume that money's got to come from something else.
Yeah.
So if we do it here, then it would come from something else. I don't have a number that I can give you of available funding for CRDC. I know that there is money in the CRDC. It's just a matter of working with the city manager and Jennifer Miller in our finance department to get a number, and then we'd have to go to the board and adjust it. We're talking a couple $100,000, maybe 3. So I think it's doable, but we have not had any of those discussions yet.
Okay. And I guess what I'm getting at is somewhere down the road in one of our upcoming meetings, it might be good for me if we had Jennifer come in and talk about CRDC funding, because I know when we did the whole Andy Brown renovation, we had to put a number of projects on hold to pay off the bonds for that, pulling it forward kind of a thing. And the idea was that might be a couple of years until we got back on track. And then we had the whole tax issue on the west side of town going away potentially. So I just don't have a good feel whether CRDC funding is being rebuilt again to where we can still keep some other projects online if we go up on this, or whether we're still short on that kind of a thing. So
sure, yeah, there is still funds available in the CRDC fund balance, but it's according to city manager's office and finance, what their comfort level in terms of releasing funds and adding additional funds. So we do plan to have that same conversation with our CRDC board in the next 1 to 2 meetings. So after we can wrap that up and get the CRDC board up to date, we're happy to have Jennifer come back here as well. It'd be great.
Think,
Question.
Go ahead, Earl.
Is there a cost-effective way to improve the water quality other than aeration? The water quality in that pond is kind of yucky, isn't it?
Well, we're challenged with water quality there because it only gets water when we have rain and when we go through drought seasons. And I don't know if any of y'all know anybody that lives over there. There have been a couple years. It's been a few years. I think the last one that was really bad goes all the way back to like 2011. The odor that comes from that thing is bad. To answer your question, no, not short of adding a water source. We added a second aerator, and we do chemically treat it. But water quality is a challenge out there, and it always will be. It's not a very deep pond, depth. The aerators seem to work. I mean, I don't know if you've experienced recently, bad water quality. It is storm water, and so it's going to have some trash. Anything that's in the streets ends up down there in that pond. There's no way of avoiding that. It's just like all of our parks. Somebody throws out a cup in the street, it ends up going into the gutter, ends up going into the storm sewer, ends up in our pond. So no, I don't think there's very many options to address water quality other than what we're doing, which is running 2 aerators, unless you have an idea.
Don't have any ideas other than that water purification setup, which would be maintenance nightmare and all of that sort of stuff. Has anybody ever done any consideration in saying, well, the pond is nice, can we turn it into lawn? And has there been any discussion of that?
No, and I don't think we would go that direction. It actually serves as a detention pond. The water goes there, and it's intended to go there. If we filled it in, we would have to straight pipe those all the way. We would just send it on down past so there would be a lot to that from an engineering standpoint, where we're pushing all that water to, because it serves as a detention pond on purpose. The water goes in there, it's to hold it, slow things up, and then as it gets to a certain point, it goes into that outflow and then goes on downstream. So that could be done. I'm not going to say it can't be done, but I don't think we would want to go in that direction.
Nick?
Makes sense.
We'll go to Margaret then.
Yeah, so just going to follow up a couple of things I think that Ed started. I think it makes sense. I mean, the first 3, and unless we have somebody in the community pushing for 4 right now with funds available, it makes sense to we've got great parks. They need to be maintained, especially ones that are deteriorating every day. We don't, right? So I think that makes sense. But just going to follow up on Ed, your timing question. What does the timing on all this look like? Because I heard your increase. What other projects might get put to the side? Would it make sense to up our priority list annual review and see if the $700,000 compared to other things that I'm having trouble recalling? I thought I had the list, but would that make sense to up that annual project review?
Yeah, the last update we did to that was 2019, and as you'll recall, when we put everything on hold, we chose not to reprioritize the list in 2020. So it's still really contingent upon us getting those updated CRDC numbers in terms of what funding is available. That way, that can drive our prioritization discussions, and so we can make real priorities versus sort of wish list priorities based on funding. So timing wise, I'd hope we can get finance here, get that update on CRDC funding, and then maybe that next meeting kind of tackle the priority list. Yeah.
Okay. What was the timing on?
Well, again, I haven't even contracted with the consultant yet. I told him I wanted to come and talk to you and show you all the priorities that we have. Again, I think we'll go ahead and at least design the first 3 priorities, because I don't see that we really have a whole lot of options there. We really need to address those. They could qualify as safety concern. Some of them do, but we're not talking aesthetics here. We're talking about maintenance repairs to the park. The park has waited its turn and its time. So, we would have to take the engineer's contract to council to be awarded. At this point, best case scenario on that would be late July, probably August, July, or the last meeting in July, or possibly the first meeting in August, just to award it to get them started. There's a fair amount of design to do here, so it's going to take them probably 4 to 6 months. Plus, I'd like to work with you all and keep you all in the loop on this. And so we would not be looking to award this until next year.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're saying if we wait 60 days to reprioritize, that doesn't hurt you at all. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah,
that's correct.
So I just want to make a comment, then I have a question, but the comment is about the park itself. I know it's used by lots and lots of people. I bet it's comparatively a pretty well-used park, and it seems like it's real family-oriented. I personally pulled out several generations of my family out of that pond, and I thought it was good down that we were talking about.
Right.
The activity that I've seen going on there a lot is fishing. Little kids learning how to fish. The ledge stone would really work well with that. I think that the rocks and the other thing, the basket of rocks, would be much harder for people to stand on and fish. And so I'm very much in favor of doing this, also around the edges, because I've pulled little ones in from falling in when they're feeding ducks over there too. So I'm sure I'm not the only person in town who's done that. But one question following up on the water quality is that pond stocked? I know there are fish in it.
We haven't stocked it in years. It has been stocked, and I was looking at it the other day because it's online. You can go out to Texas Parks and Wildlife. I think the last time we stocked that pond was like 2004. So it's got fish in it, but they're not really game fish. There's perch and some little catfish in it, stuff for the kids to catch. But as far as game fish, we haven't stocked it in probably 15 years.
Practicing, I think.
Yeah.
But, also, I've been down on the playground, and what you're talking about with the padding on that playground is real disgusting.
It's gone. It's
so
gone.
I will weigh in on that as well.
Again, we're not talking aesthetics on a lot of the stuff that I presented.
I actually did find the priority list that we had, and this was from, I think, May 6, 2019. But anyway, we did have the duck pond renovation and the MacArthur Park playground replacement. Those were both in pre-design, and they were frozen at the time. And I was looking at the high priority list, and we could probably find some money in there. There was the Biodiversity Center parking lot at $400,000, an Allen Road Park Trail and Bridge at $450,000.
None of those have been funded
I know,
yet.
those were on the high
They're just
priority.
on the list,
Yeah, they were.
but they weren't funded.
Yeah. But they were high priority.
They
whereas,
were.
Yeah.
And the reason that the duck pond is not up there in that high priority is because once we start, even though that says pre-design, because we knew it was going to get funded, and they actually had told us that 2020 would be the year, which was the next year. And so that's why we dropped it off the list, and then it got froze.
Yeah. So this was projects currently underway, May 6, 2019. So those were in there along with the Magnolia Park Trail connection.
So editing the high priority list is really not
right.
We're not going to find money by doing that because those aren't funded.
Yeah,
they're just a
those
high
weren't funded,
priority.
But I guess based on what we were talking about before on the list with the projects currently underway, those were pre-funded.
Yeah. Right now, the only ones currently underway is Moore Road Elevated Boardwalk is under design, and we've been told by council to do that. We are going to council. I'm probably stealing some of Jessica's thunder here. We're going to council tomorrow night with the Grapevine Springs project. That is funded through CRDC, and then Magnolia Park, whatever we do there, if we do something there. So those are the only 3 that are currently funded through CRDC.
All right. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Anybody online? Got anything there, Cecilia? Okay, nothing there.
So what I'll do is I'll move forward with pulling together a proposal from the engineer for the first 3 priorities, and then we'll work that through council, and we'll go from there.
I think that sounds like the right plan. Thanks a lot, John. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to item number 6. As you all know, every month we try to have a manager's update. This time we have Tiffany with the Community Engagement talk. So, Tiffany, welcome.
Hello. Good evening. Thank y'all for having me here tonight. It's exciting to get to be here in person with y'all. So, like you said, I'm Tiffany Anderson. I'm our Community Engagement Manager. Tonight I'm here to update y'all on our Community Engagement Division, just sort of what we've been doing over the last year and then what we have planned for the future as well. So what we really try to do is just to work to create and maintain engagement within the community. We do that in 2 ways, really. Through marketing and communication, just helping connect people with everything that the department is doing, and then also by creating ways for residents to make memories and engage with each other through our special events. There we go. Okay. Just a quick introduction to our team. That's us up there. We're a pretty small team. I have been with the Parks Department since 2013 in my current role the last 4 years. And then we also have Sunday Thompson. Y'all may also get emails from her as Sunday Smith. If either one, reply to those emails. She just recently got married. And Lily Agan's our marketing coordinator. So we do handle all of the marketing and communications for the Parks and Rec Department, with the exception of the Art Center. Just really giving us an opportunity to share all the great things that the facilities are doing, and also giving us a chance to educate and inform and build relationships through both social media and through our events when we get to see people in person. We do a lot of traditional marketing. Our print brochures, flyers, newspaper advertisements. Hopefully, I'm sure you've seen our banners around town. We also design and produce seasonal catalogs, senior catalogs, and our summer camp guides. So while our print and sort of that more traditional marketing is always going to be a focus for us, we do continue to increase our digital footprint all the time. Just as an example, since the spring of last year, all of our publications have been digital only and viewable online. So in a regular year, sort of pre-COVID 2019, our catalogs had about 6,000 views throughout the year, any of our digital publications. And since March of last year up through May of this year, we've had 27,000 views. So that's grown a lot, and we're really happy with that. So, like I said, huge part of our focus, especially over this last year, is on digital marketing, and that's what I have a little bit more info on here tonight. So we are reaching out to people digitally through the website, through social media, our facility signage that's digital in our facilities, online ads and videos. We maintain all of our departmental web pages and our web presence. In February of this year, we launched our new website, and we got to be a part of the redesign for that. The entire city launched their site, and our Parks and Rec pages got their own look as well. So if y'all haven't visited those pages yet, definitely encourage you to do that. It's just much more visual now, very well organized, really easy to find. We think very user-friendly for residents as well. Then our primary method of engagement currently is social media. It's consistently where we're hearing from people on surveys and different things that's where they find out. That's where they get their information about events or just what is going on in the department. We have a little over 5,000 Facebook followers right now. That number grows all the time. It's gone up 15% since March of last year. And we have a little over 1,600 followers on Instagram as well. Just a little sampling of some of what you might have seen on social media lately if you've been checking that. We do lots of education, like I said. So May was Water Safety Month and Bicycle Safety Month. We'll do lots in July for Park and Recreation Month, Trail Safety, Team Member Spotlight. So we tried to do education as well as have some fun too at the same time. In the spring of 2020, obviously social media was hugely important, just helping us to stay engaged, be creative, and bring new programs from March into the summer when everyone was at home. And you can see on the screen that our numbers did rise pretty dramatically again at that time, and we had a lot of really good interaction with the community. Got a couple, just sampling of what we offered last spring. So we showcased at-home fitness challenges, personal trainings, backyard and neighborhood activities, even a virtual talent show. We even ran several of our adapted special events entirely through Facebook. One of those being Celebrate Coppell Red, White, and Views, our outdoor decorating contest. That reached 31,000 people on Facebook. And then speaking of special events, something we all missed last year, I'm sure. Just there's such a fun way to bring people together. Obviously, things did look different in 2020, and our events did as well. We were able to host 12 adapted special events. So some of those were in person, some of them were virtual. Hopefully, you probably already heard about a lot of these. We do just have some fun numbers up on the screen. And I'm going to just give you a really quick recap of what we did last year before going into what we have planned for this year. So through those events that you see up on the screen, we had about 8,000 people that actively participated in some way. So it's not counting people that were just viewing our outdoor decorating contests or like visiting the lights in the park over at East. So it's a really good number. In our Fa La 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 Lights holiday maps, we had our outdoor decorating contest, and we had a map that went along with that people could follow. That one alone had 78,000 views. So that one is coming back this year. That's a contest and a fun event that we will be bringing back. So now, just a little bit more about the types of events that some we've already held this year and that we have coming up as well. So our movie and our music events have been rebranded to fall under our Sunset Social umbrella. We brought them back this March with our social squares out in the park. They're held throughout the year, usually a couple in the spring, a couple in the fall, as well as our movie in the park in the summer. This summer, actually, we are celebrating Harry Potter's birthday in July with a showing of Sorcerer's Stone. So that is going to be fun. Also, later this year, we're going to introduce something new, a Sunset Social date night for adults. So adults can attend a movie in the park and then also do some kind of activity like dance lessons or something fun out in the park. Other spring events that we did host this year are our Earth Fest and Old Town Anniversary events. This year for Earth Fest, we partnered with the Biodiversity Education Center to hold that event at their facility and on the grounds out there. It was a good fit since the emphasis is on environmental education and sustainability. By partnering with them, we were just able to add onto that to even more than what we were currently doing. As well as I think everybody really enjoyed the chance to get to go and actually walk and visit the nature trails out there while they were there for the event. Our Old Town Anniversary, usually a concert, celebrates the anniversary at the opening of the Old Town Square each May. This year we did celebrate it a little bit differently with a scavenger hunt and activities at area businesses, long games, food trucks, and some fun giveaways, which was really fun, but we're looking forward to bringing concerts and things back out to the Old Town Square as well soon. So at this point, I am going to skip ahead a little bit. You might notice that summer's missing, but we'll go back there. I'll talk about fall first and then go back to what we actually specifically have this summer coming up in July. So Kaleidoscope, our celebration of cultures this year will be our 4th time to host this event. And we love this one because it's really just about celebrating the diversity of the community, what makes it special. We showcase cultural music, dance, art, and food. And over the past several years, we've had performances by lion dancers, Indian dance schools, Mayan dancers, African drummers and storytellers, flamenco dancers, and then lots of local Coppell artists as well. So after that, in the fall, we'll also host our Gobble Wobble 5K before we close out the year with our holiday parade and tree lighting. We are definitely looking forward to return to our lighted parade. Again, this year we took a couple years off just with parkway construction, and then obviously last year. So we're really looking forward to that, and we think we'll have a really good turnout for that one as well. And then the tree lighting event always features a lot of fun holiday activities, lots of lights, music, and visits with Santa. So lots of fun for everybody in the community. Another piece of what we do is we oversee all the community special events that take place. So the ones that our community members are putting on that take place usually on park property, occasionally off-site as well, just to ensure that they are running smoothly, they're safe for everybody to attend. So those are things like the St. Anne's Carnival or our CHS Homecoming Parade. Our special event supervisor oversees the special event review committee. And that just has representatives from departments across the city, parks, police, fire, traffic, environmental health, people that are going to help you to have a safe event, make sure that everything runs smoothly. In 2019, we had 10 of those. We also had 9 community 5Ks and fun runs. We didn't have any of those in 2020, but we're seeing a pickup in those again as well. And for our 5Ks and fun runs, we do have an established route at Andrew Brown East, which is really helpful for our groups. And all 5Ks that happen in the park must benefit a Coppell-based nonprofit. So it's really good to see those that stay close to home and really benefit the community. Okay, so now for what we have coming up in July. Obviously, our Celebrate Coppell Independence Day events. Everybody's really excited to have that come back. Our Party in the Park is our biggest event of the year. It's got live music, lots of good food, an awesome fireworks show. This year's event is Saturday, July 3rd from 5 to 10. Our headliner is an 80s and 90s cover band called Rubik's Groove. And we have Big City Outlaws opening for them as their opening act. So a good mix of music, something for everybody. And then food, just a variety of food and dessert trucks that we'll have out there. Something just a tiny bit unusual this year, our parade is going to take place on July 3rd as well. So morning of July 3rd, and we'll have a full day of Independence Day activities for people to enjoy. Parade kicks off as usual at 9 a.m. Same as always, lots of festive, patriotic floats, parades, lots of vehicles, walkers, and bike riders. And for both of these, we really expect to have a very, very good turnout. As an example, we opened our parade applications just officially to the public last week. We still have 3 more weeks before they're all due, and we have 19 already. So typically we have about 35 or so in the parade, and we expect that will be bigger this year. So that's fun to see. July is also National Park and Recreation Month. This year's theme is Our Park and Recreation Story. So we are going to be looking to the community to tell us their Parks and Recreation story. And also just be on the lookout as usual for pop-up events around town, facility programs, social media, contests, and our July movie in the park as well, like I mentioned earlier. Just lots of fun things to do to celebrate July. And then to kick that off, actually tomorrow night at Council, they're issuing a proclamation for July as Parks and Recreation Month. So everyone is invited to attend and just show support for that. One last thing. I am excited to officially get to tell you, y'all may have seen this on our website or on social media, but we have again been selected by the NRPA and AAPRA as a 2021 National Gold Medal finalist. We have been a finalist 3 years in a row, but every year it just continues to be a big honor. And it's just a result of the hard work, the dedication of our staff, just providing the best services to citizens, all of our dedicated volunteers, elected officials, and all of the support that we receive from the community. So again, we are one of 4 in our class, only 16 across the nation. And this year in our class, we are competing against Centerville, Ohio, Oak Park, Illinois, and our friends next door, Grapevine Parks and Recreation. So the winner is going to be announced in September, at the national conference in Nashville. And then as we get closer to that date, I'm sure that we will have more information on how you can watch online and celebrate with us when we win. And with that, just thank you again for having me here tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have.
Thank you. That was very informative and good to see a lot of these things coming back, I'll tell you.
Yes.
A couple questions I had. One is I'm glad to see that the social media participation is increasing. After this last year, which I think the Parks Department did an outstanding job of finding ways to engage the community in a virtual way and whatever other means we had. But I think I just get a feeling there's still a lot of people in town that don't know about everything that's opening up and coming. And so for the group of people in the community that aren't social media people, what are we doing as far as trying to get the word out to them in a push kind of a manner so that they might pick it up?
We're definitely not ignoring them just because it's not digital. We do another big way, the top two ways are social media and our water bill insert. That's what we hear from people, that's where they're getting information. So always staying on top of that too and making sure that everything is in there, everything that we can get in there. So, and then also, sending things to the paper. So if you still like to pick up your newspaper, you'll see it there. We hope, word of mouth gets it as well. We try to hit all of the areas and just try to get everyone. Obviously we're not always going to be able to reach every person, but we are looking to everyone that we can. So try to do that a variety of ways.
Okay. And I know that, some of I think like the Advocate went online during the whole COVID thing, and so they're not distributing. So some of those media methods went away kind of a thing. But I'm already seeing posters up around the 4th of July thing and stuff like that, so I think that's a good way to get the word out there as well. So good to see. And I just also want to say I think it's great, gold medal finalists again. Not that I didn't expect that to happen, because I know we have such a diligently hard-working group of people in the Parks Department, and I feel sure the judges are going to come around to see our way one of these times. So,
yes.
All right. Other questions, comments?
I have a question, Tiffany. Do we have a list of the food trucks that are going to be in July?
I can get you that list. Yes. It will be published online soon. It'll be on the website. We're just making those final confirmations, but yes, I can get that list for you.
I got some people that are looking for a particular food truck, and I can't remember the name of it. It has to do with gluten-free ice cream kind of stuff.
Ice cream.
I don't know what it is, but I'll find out. Is that going to be there?
Yes. I'll get that to you. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll bring Sophie up to you. You can tell her.
Yes.
The other thing about communications that I was wondering is when you were talking about, we got the social media aspect, and then we've got different groups that we're going to use hard copy media kind of things for. As far as promoting the website and promoting the Facebook page and things like that, is there some kind of campaign to push people more to those venues? Because that seems to be the best media options we have as far as getting up-to-date information out. And then the other question I had is, so that's one question. The second question was relative to the utility bill newsletters. Do you have a feel of how many people get hard copy bills? What percentage versus who pays their bills automatically? Because I'm not sure how many of those are getting out to people these days, whether it's half the community is getting hard copy letters or whether it's something different than that. I don't know. But
I use auto pay. So, but I still get a paper bill and the newsletter. But what's interesting, and this is maybe some feedback to consider, mine always arrives at the last week of the month, and a lot of times there are events that have already occurred and in this water bill. And so, I'm thinking, gosh, if somebody was depending on the water bill for information, the newsletter and the water bill, they've already missed it. So I don't know if maybe event news can be even pushed, even a month ahead on that. The other thing I've been noticing, too, about the water bill newsletter, it's primarily biodiversity news that I've been seeing in it. And, I know a lot more is going on. I mean, I depend on social media to get all my information about what's going on in the park, and it's excellent because there's links, and, it's perfect. So I don't, depend on any of the paper, but I have noticed the newsletter the last year and a half, it's like old news by the time I get it. So
we do try to stay a cycle ahead. So, we have events that we try to get those out a month early. But yeah, we'll definitely.
Yeah, because like I said, there's a lot of us who for some reason get the bills the last week, and things have already happened.
I think there's two mail-outs.
There's two
to the
mail-outs.
utility
There
bills.
are.
So there's a beginning of the month and later in the month. So you're right. Sometimes the later in the month, you've already missed the events kind of thing. So I hear what you're saying on that. Good points. Back to the social media thing, though, is just a thought, but some kind of campaign to make people more aware of where to go to get that stuff might be helpful. But
yeah, there has been, that's been started just recently citywide. I think it was in late April or early May, just sort of a campaign from the city making sure that, kind of trying to make people aware of the different accounts that the city has. So, that fire department has their own page, police department has their own, parks has, all the different accounts. So that if you're following one and you weren't following the other, you can like them and add them there. So we are starting to do that, but I will take note of that. That is a good thing to continue to do.
I just, one more thing is, when I was at the Celebrate Old Town, and I was at the booth for the Community and Senior Center, they handed out a page, and it was just the cover of their catalog, but it had a QR code on it. And it said, take a picture of this and you can get everything you want to know about all the events. And I thought, boy, that sure is a cool idea, even just having that page available. And so I don't know if maybe that's an option where, because if people don't use social media, maybe almost everybody has a phone where they could, take a picture of a QR code and link to some of that. But I thought that was a pretty cool idea that the Senior Center had on that.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we're starting to do that just more too. I think people are more used to that. Every time you go to a restaurant now, that's how you get your menu. So you'll see more of that in the future from us too.
I'm not a real social media person, but I've noticed on Nextdoor app that it seems like the Coppell police post things on there that have to do, with the neighborhood. Are the park board posting things on that as well? And that might be a good place to post.
We are. The police is very active on Nextdoor. We do post. We're there as well. We're not as active as they are, but that is a place for us to grow too.
any other thoughts? Anybody online have any comments there, Cecilia? No? Okay, great. Thank you very much, Tiffany. Appreciate it. Doing good work there. Okay, on to item number 7, Youth Advisors Report. I see Natasha is online. I don't know if Advika is on, but Natasha, you've got the floor. Welcome.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. So I know it's been a while since you've heard from me as I was unable to attend last month. So just to kind of recap what was going on prior to May, I am currently working on that sustainability scavenger hunt initiative along with the BEC, coordinating with Miss Reed, obviously. And the issues that we were facing in May were primarily, I'm sure you heard from Miss Reed actually at the last meeting when she presented on the Keep Coppell Beautiful Teens group. And the issues we were facing is that kind of as those projects are wrapping up, we weren't able to make much headway with finalizing the resources, or rather the curriculum that would be presented in each of the stations for the scavenger hunt last month. And so we're kind of not aligned with the timeline we had set in place in order to implement this scavenger hunt by July, which was the intended aim. So we're kind of going to be readjusting that and postponing it likely to the first couple of weeks prior to school starting, kind of as a back to school sort of event to get kids interested and kind of reintegrated after the summer break. And the plan is I'll be meeting with Miss Reed over the next couple of weeks to finalize the curriculum and et cetera, so that we can take advantage of the month of July to conduct the outreach that's necessary. Also, just to kind of clarify the actual plan for the scavenger hunt, since it has been a month since I spoke about it. So the plan is just for various stations to be offered at different locations, primarily situated at the BEC, just because it's easier to facilitate in that area. And they'll each have like a QR code for individuals to scan and learn more about a particular environmentally friendly initiative that's located there. So that's the general structure. We're finalizing the actual information to be included right now. And once that's worked on, once I've met with Ms. Reed and we start moving forward with outreach in July, we should be ready to have the project by August. So those were my primary updates, is just kind of to let you know of the shift in the timeline due to the delays in May. And so I'm open to any questions, and that is the plan for moving forward.
Thank you. I tell you, looking forward to that. I know with the last year we've had and what's been going on earlier this year, there's been delays there. Certainly makes sense, but I'm looking forward to the scavenger hunt thing. You know, one other thing I might ask of you is a lot of the events and things opening up that we've talked about here today, especially the big 4th of July celebration, any means you have to spread the word among the high schools and middle schools and stuff to really make sure the youth is involved and aware of these kind of things going forward, that would be good. So appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's several platforms within the school that we can utilize, like weekly newsletters, as well as within the school itself as things start reopening. It'll be difficult over the summer to do that, of course, but definitely something I'll keep in mind in the upcoming school year. And I will think about that over the next couple of weeks as to how I can facilitate that over the summer itself, since we don't have that easy pathway of communication through the school. But I definitely agree that that is super important, is outreach to youth specifically. So yes, I will definitely keep that in mind.
Well, I appreciate that, again, because I think there's so many good things happening with new facilities and events and programs opening up, and the way a lot of people have been pretty hunkered down for the last year, I want to make sure that everybody's aware of these things and really can come out and take advantage of them. So I appreciate that. Any other thoughts or comments for Natasha? All right. Thank you, Natasha. And welcome to the summer. Good for you. I don't think Advika's on. Nope. Okay. All right. With that, we will move on to Jessica and the director's report for any projects, programs, whatever you may have.
Yeah, just a little bit of everything tonight. Just some brief updates. Tiffany and John, I think, already mentioned a couple of these, but again, tomorrow night at City Council, we will be bringing a proclamation naming July as National Park and Recreation Month. So Tiffany will be down in this room again, just chatting a little bit about some of the fun activities that we're going to be doing over the course of the month. Again, also tomorrow evening, we will be awarding 2 separate awards for the Grapevine Springs dredging and the wall repair project. So as you'll recall, John's talked to the board about this project a few times now. So this is going to hopefully get some water back into that canal, repair some of that historic stonework down in the park, and reconstruct that failed diversion wall in Grapevine Creek. So once we get council approval tomorrow night, we'll then take it to CRDC hopefully next week, and then get started hopefully this month, kind of toward the end of the month, start mobilizing over there. Next Tuesday night, June 15th, right out here in the plaza from 6 to 8 p.m. is the city's volunteer appreciation luncheon. I'm sorry, not luncheon, event. So you are all invited. You should have received information or an invitation from our city secretary's office. If you have not, please let me know ASAP, and I will make sure that we get you that information. Regarding July's meeting, we will not meet in July. That's standard, so we'll skip July, and we will meet again on Monday, August 2nd. So please plan to be present in person. We most likely will not have a Zoom option by that point in time. So we're hoping to bring all boards and commissions fully back in person as soon as possible. Let's see. With that being said, there's also another new board in town, the Smart City Board. You may have seen them meeting upstairs when we came in. They do also meet the first Monday of the month, which is why we're here in Chambers tonight. They do meet once a quarter in person in that room. So when they are up there, we will be down here. If they are not meeting, we'll move back up to our home, most likely in the second floor. So we'll make sure on your agenda to identify the location. So we'll either be up there or down here. And then last thing is, I know Tiffany covered a little bit about the Celebrate Coppell Parade on the 3rd. So as usual, we will most likely be asking for your help in judging some of those floats. So be on the lookout for some information coming from Tiffany's area. If you haven't seen that already, you'll see that soon. So we'd love to have your help if you're available to help out that morning. So happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, I'll just say on events, I am thrilled to see the Celebrate Coppell happen again. I think that's really just a landmark event here in Coppell. So everything else that's going on is great too. And projects, great to see the MacArthur Trails going. I drive down there and see people on them. I don't know if you've been getting feedback from the city standpoint, but I think that was a good project, and I know the additional trail programs that we're talking about going forward with will be a big addition as well. But any other questions or comments? No? Okay. With that, move on to item number 9, chair report. Nothing specific to report here other than good to be in person again. And those of you online, good to have you there as well. So I kind of like this kind of hybrid approach thing to some extent. Especially as we get into the summer months. But hope everybody enjoys your summer. You know, I know a lot of people are talking about travels and things because they've been kind of cooped up for the last year. So appreciate once again all your volunteer time and enjoy your summer. So with that, we will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have the motion from Nick. Do we have a second? We have a second from Margaret. All those in favor, raise your hand. We have unanimous here. I can't see the online, but I'm sure Cecilia can. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.